election that just took place, of course, you would know that one of the things that they kept hitting on was, ask the opposition if they are going to get rid of the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival, and tried to make it seem as if, the Jazz and Arts Festival was something so huge that that the opposition was so averse to. And they really just made it seem as if the United Workers' Party was so anti-jazz, that kind of thing. But of course, that's not the case. This was all just a ploy. And these things happen. So last night, the launch of the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival took place. I didn't go. No worries, I'm not missing anything. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I do love my jazz. I love it. I have seen a lot of great artists perform at the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. And I'm not anti-jazz. That's what I'm trying to bring across. I love the festival. I love going. I love networking with my media peers. I love seeing the artists. I'm always front and center whenever this thing is taking place. So, it is one of my favorite, sorry, me adjusting things. It is one of my favorite times of year. I really do love St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. But as much as I love the festival, I always am very curious as to how much money we are spending producing that festival, and how much money do we make? What is our return on investment? For some reason, ever since the festival made its resurgence, we have not been given any figures to that effect. Every time we've asked the Minister of Investment this question, he's always said that you just cannot quantify the benefits of the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. You cannot. At one point, we were told that this isn't about making money. This is a marketing tool. But marketing tools are great. I'm not going to lie. Marketing tools are wonderful. Of course, we are a tourism-dependent island, and we do need to attract visitors to our shores so that we can make foreign exchange. But is it feasible to spend billions of dollars for $1 million return on investment? Now, I'm not saying this is what is happening. I'm simply saying that the St. Lucian public, the festival goers, the media, nobody has been able to get the Minister of Investment to tell us how much money St. Lucia is spending on the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. And that brings me to last evening. So last evening, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really wasn't following the broadcast. Not that I don't love jazz, but because I was not able to. And I said to myself, you know what, Angie, don't beat yourself up for not following the festival launch, because there's always tomorrow. And you know your listeners are going to be very excited to know what is in store for them for the Jazz and Arts Festival. So guess what, guys? We are going to go to the launch of jazz. Now I'm letting one cat out of the bag. I heard through the grapevine that Billy Ocean will be headlining the ultimate celebration this year. Now, hey, Caribbean Queen, Color of Love. I love me some Billy Ocean. I do. I really, really do. But let's wait to see, because most people love Kingdom Night. I've been to jazz ever since, every show since it came back, and it's always opening night that draws the biggest local crowd, and then you have Kingdom Night and the ultimate celebration. So last year I went with my daughter. It was Mother's Day. We had a time. It was very beautiful. She didn't want to take any pictures with me though. But but it was a really, really great time. So, but as much as all of the fanfare and the and we do attract, I'm going to be honest, we do attract a lot of celebrities to our Jazz and Arts Festival. Last year, I think Chloe Bailey is a regular at our Jazz and Arts Festival. She and her sister, and I saw this actor from one of those sitcoms on BET that I really like, though I haven't watched it in a while. I did see Kim Fields, so we have some really prominent actors who come to our St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. I'm not against the festival. I love me the jazz festival. Like I said, I have been to, and when I go to jazz, people, I don't go out much. But this is the one time where Angie will not be found at home. I go to every single show. Somebody's saying happy Thursday. Sweetie, where are you? Today is Friday. So, again, love, 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 love me some jazz. I don't miss, I think the only show that I miss on the jazz roster on purpose is Pure Jazz. It's just not for me. And on Caribbean Night, I open the park. That's my jam. So I love the jazz festival. I do. But what I want to know is, as much as we enjoy the music, we enjoy the atmosphere, we enjoy the ambience, how much money is St. Lucia expending? And what is our return on investment. And they always, whenever you ask this question at a pre-cabinet press briefing, you always get the impression that the Minister of Investment and even the Prime Minister think that the average citizen is simply too simple to understand the importance of this. They're always saying, "Oh, you can't quantify it. You cannot do this. You because, I mean, you have to check marketing, stay over arrivals, and all of the above. So you cannot." But here's the thing: if we can check how much money is spent, somebody's already chiming in. Somebody's saying here, let me see what this message reads. Somebody says, "Good afternoon, Angie. Returns? Ha! Loss, loss, loss." I didn't want to say that just yet. Honestly, guys, but seriously. They keep making us believe that we are simply too uneducated, too simple to understand the importance of the jazz festival to our economy. And I keep trying to figure out, how are we to, if we're putting on this big festival, and guys, let me tell you, we have celebrities coming from all over to enjoy our jazz festival. I cannot tell you if these people are coming on their own dime or if they are like the influencers. I keep mispronouncing that word, guys. The influencers. Yes, I need to get it right. That came in on Carnival on our dime to enjoy our island. There's talk of so many free tickets being handed out to persons in the community, maybe from the constituency offices and all of that. And I always wonder, like I said, I do love the festival. It is my favorite thing. I'm not so into Carnival, but when it comes to jazz, don't look for me at home because I won't be there. I am at every show. I am at every, it's just name it, except pure jazz. I am not a pure jazz fan. And I do like the variation. Every night is different. It's a wonderful experience. But some of these names that are coming to participate in the Jazz and Arts Festival, for example, I saw John Legend one year, I saw CeCe Winans one year. I mean, these people aren't coming here for free. These people don't roll out of bed for peanuts. We had Sinach the first year, I think it was. We had some we always have on is it World Beats, we always have some Afrobeats artists. And these people are not coming all the way from Nigeria or Africa or wherever for peanuts. Somebody here is saying FET economy. Another is saying under the St. Lucian Labour government, Jazz Festival is always an expense to the country. No revenue in return. It's just a waste of revenue for the country. Another person says no more free tickets again this year. Wow. Somebody says good afternoon to you, Angie. Nice hearing you again. Same to you. They can never tell us how much money is spent. So you're telling me you cannot calculate how much money you spent engaging artists? You cannot calculate how much money was spent for accommodation, for transportation, for the venues? You cannot accommodate. You cannot tell us how many tickets were sold. Somebody here is saying, well, I need to say thank you to the return of the WhatsApp platform, because these guys were so quiet over the past couple of days, weren't they? But they're back. So somebody on the WhatsApp platform is saying, again, Angie, besides the artist fees, it's the payment for the artist's whole entourage. Somebody else is saying to me, no free tickets this year. It's not election year. Wow. You guys aren't kidding. Even if you cannot calculate fully the trickle down effect. But okay, let's take for example the park and rides that take place for the festival. So traffic has become a huge problem in St. Lucia. And during the Jazz Festival, to abate that issue or to mitigate that problem, you have what we call, somebody's asking, how was the UWP administration able to do a cost postmortem on these festivals? Well, I don't know, because apparently the Labour Party doesn't know, and the UWP hasn't told them, because they've never been able to do the same. There are so many ways that the Ministry of Tourism or the SLTA or the minister, anybody can tell us, give us an idea of what the festival generates. You have the park and rides. The way they do it, you come to the park and ride area, you buy tickets to ride the bus, you hand your ticket to the bus driver, they take you to the venue, when you're coming back, you hand them a ticket, they take you back. The ministry collects the money, collects tickets from each driver, and pays them for the work that they have done. So that's not a good indicator of how many people attended the festival. And even then, you have ticket sales. All they tell you is, oh, tickets are going like hot bread. Tickets are this and tickets are that. But they never tell you we sold 5 tickets today. Now, getting into those venues is always a chore. So I go really early and find myself a good seat. I'm usually in the media tent, or sometimes you have to stay in the media pit, depending on the artist. Some artists have kicked us out of the pit. Some have requested only 5 minutes. They only want reporters in the pits for 5 minutes, and then they kick us out. And then sometimes they always make time, most of the artists, to sit with us at the designated area and just have a chat. So you get to interview them and find out more about them for your audience. But You can't tell us how much money you spent collectively for all of the artists, for the venues, for accommodation. Who is footing the bill? I know when these artists are invited to your country, you are the one putting them up. So you give them accommodation, you pay them for the night when they perform, and then you pay them, you pay you know how much money you've spent. Simply come to us and let us know how much money the the festival generates. But they've never done that. They always try to make us believe that you can't quantify that. You can't quantify this for marketing. It is too much. It is you know and what I get from this is you're too stupid to understand. Now maybe that's not the impression that they want to give. But that is what I see. Now, also, guys, you would recall that this is the government who last term, now I don't know if they've changed their minds this term, but last term they promised us accountability, transparency, truth, and integrity. Now, I don't know what happened during the course of that term. I think maybe I don't know how they're going to find a way to pin this on Alan Shastney, but I'm pretty sure they will. That maybe it was Alan Shastney who was distracting them and that's why they couldn't be accountable to the public. I don't know. They find ways to pin things on people. But I would really, really like to know, just once, what is the expenditure relating to the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival? How much money are we spending on these foreign artists? How much money are we spending on local artists? How many ticket sales do we get for each festival, each night of the festival? How much do we make in transportation fees for the park and ride? So that we can decide if the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival is a good idea or if it's just something that we're doing because we want an opportunity to see some of these artists before they retire. Because honestly, I get it. Even if we don't know how much money each vendor makes, that's another thing. How much money do the vendors at the Jazz and Arts Festival? Thank you. Somebody's telling me I'm doing a good job. Thank you. But I ask these questions because they are important. As much as I love the Jazz Festival, I don't want to know what the taxi drivers make bringing people from the hotels to Jazz. That's okay. I don't need to know that. I don't need to know what stayover arrivals we had because of Jazz. That's fine. The festival is always packed. I want to know the direct costs and the direct revenue? What is our return on investment? Because in every situation, there is a cost and there is a benefit. And when one is to judge whether or not an activity is viable or sustainable, one must take a look at the cost benefit ratio. How much cost versus how much benefit. And remember, yesterday we were talking about the tourism industry, and I made the statement that it seems the Minister of Tourism, or the SLTA, is spending a lot of money looking good as opposed to being good. If the Jazz and Arts Fair, and I don't buy it for one bit, I don't buy it for one bit that the SLTA or the Minister of Tourism or the Ministry of Tourism don't know how much money the festival generates. That's foolishness. You know how many ticket sales you got. You know how many tickets you gave away. You know how much money you paid out in accommodation for entourages and catering. You know how much money you spent bringing in foreign regional media, because that's another thing. Ever since the Jazz and Art, well, I've been attending. I've not been in the media my whole life. But there are always media personnel from different countries. So you get media personnel, reporters from Guadeloupe, from Martinique, from Jamaica, from Antigua, Dominica. I've met so many regional counterparts through the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. It really is a great place for media people to network and connect with individuals from other countries. And when you go to the Jazz and Arts Festival, you meet a wide variety of different people. You know, there are service providers there, Digicel, you have vendors, it's a great vibe. It's a great vibe. If you've never been, take the opportunity and go. Nobody's against the festival. It has its benefits. But are we simply doing this just because we like to go to parties? Are we doing this simply because we want to see artists and we don't know when else we're going to get a chance to see them? We need to know if this is viable. Now, I remember that back in the day, and bear with me, you would recall this as well, when somebody's saying in our mother language, the Minister of Tourism should give his name big movements without any action. Wow. You guys would recall that the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival used to be the BT Jazz, remember? It was not the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival, it was BET Jazz. And that festival was promoted and marketed by Black Entertainment Television out of the United States. And you know, back in the day, BET was the big thing. So they marketed the festival. And you would recall that the festival was hosted by Victoria Rowell. She was Drusilla on The Young and the Restless. I know you guys remember this. I know you remember this. There used to be Jazz in the Square. And it used to be about, I mean, sometimes the kids would go out there. It was a free show. You got a chance to mingle with some of the artists, and it was always a great vibe. It would play in the States, all over the place, and that was really great for our tourism product. Now, and then you recall the jazz festival was phased out. Now, I've had the occasion to interview former Prime Minister Alan Chasney about why he decided not to continue with the jazz festival. And this is the explanation that he gave me. He said to me that when we lost BT, the marketing of the festival became our burden. And it was realized that all of the money from that festival was leaking out of the country. You had to bring in those foreign artists. You had to spend money on stage production that you had to get from overseas. And after a while, you know, they were spending so much money putting up artists and their entourage and all of those things that they had. I think you guys, good afternoon to you, Mr. Charlie. I think you guys would recall that this guy, God rest his soul, Luther Vandross. You guys remember Luther Vandross? Used to be, he headlined our jazz festival shortly before his passing. It was said that Luther Vandross made so many demands that, you know, it was outrageous. So, according to the former Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, now current leader of the opposition, Alan Chasney, that he said that a decision was taken that the Jazz and Arts Festival really was simply leaking funds out of the country. We were spending too much money on foreign artists, too much money on accommodation, too much money, and we were not generating enough to cover our losses. And so, it was decided that St. Lucia would generate a more local festival. That way, local artists would get the benefit. They would be showcased, and it would be more about our culture. So we were looking for a summer festival. And that's when Soleil came into being. Now, it wasn't just one festival. There was rhythm and blues, there was jazz. It was so many different festivals. And to top it off, we had our carnival season. Somebody says, you're right. He had them to mop the floor 14 times. He said the stage wasn't clean, so they had to clean it 14 times. Luther Vandross, the singer. Yes. Luther made so many outrageous demands. Somebody's saying here, I heard that most of the jazz and carnival money find their way back into the pocket. Oh, I'm not going to say that. Don't say that without proof. So that was the intention of Soleil. So there are so many people popping on. You would see me waving to people because so many people are popping onto the broadcast and just sharing greetings with me from all over the place. I have people from St. Croix in the house, Wales, everywhere. As I was saying, so the SLP made it seem as if, yes, somebody says 1 week after he left St. Lucia, he passed away. That's true. He died a week later. Another is saying they don't care about the cost. Hilaire wants to prove that he can organize a bigger jazz than Alan. That's just what it is. That is why he will never see how much. Somebody says the country lost more financially when jazz was changed to Soleil and moved to the hotel. The locals did not benefit. Really? How so? How did the country lose more financially when jazz was changed to Soleil and moved to a hotel? What hotel did it move to? Could you give more information? I'm awaiting that answer. Somebody says in opposition, Hilaire spoke against jazz. Interesting. So because somebody said that the country lost more, I am going back to 2017 to find out if this is true. So, the Soleil St. Lucia Summer Festival was a series of 6 festivals taking place from May through October, aimed at enhancing the island's tourism product with a unique entertainment opportunity for their visitors. And the summer series, I'm talking about 2017, it kicked off May 12th to 14th with St. Lucia Jazz. Then with events taking place across the island. Across the island, culminating with a star-studded concert at Pigeon Island National Landmark on Sunday, May 14th. So who is going out there saying that Soleil was at a hotel? This is very interesting. The Roots and Soul ran from June 16th to 18th and was dedicated to new trends in reggae, conscious hip-hop, Afro-punk and R&B. And this festival marks the launch of St. Lucia Carnival. Then there was St. Lucia Carnival, a variety of musical competitions lead up to the Parade of the Bands on July 17th and 18th throughout. Carnival gives revelers the opportunity to fet almost everywhere on the island in true Caribbean fashion. You see, when you come on this show and you decide to make statements, come correct. Come correct. Because I don't come here and say things that I don't research or that I don't know. Back in 2017, we had artists like Vanessa Williams, Rochelle Farrell, Victor Provost, Malavoy, Rupert Lake Quartet, Michael Robinson, and Caribbean band Blue Mango. That was for the jazz part of it. Then we had St. Lucia Food and Rum Festival, August 24th to 27th. And this says it's described as this. This gastronomic festival invites chefs, wine connoisseurs, rum fanatics, and foodies from the Caribbean and around the globe, inspired by world famous chefs Nina Compton and Doran Payne. The event will feature culinary demonstrations with rum and wine tasting, dining events, and experiences, not to mention some musical performances. Then we had Country and Blues Festival, September 15th to 17th. And it says this part of the festival calls for reflection on the diversity and modernity of the genres of music. It was to act as a powerful storyteller of the past and draw strong parallels to St. Lucian folk traditions. Then we had the Arts and Heritage Festival in October. Building on Journée Creole, this month-long festival will celebrate St. Lucia's cultural, ethnic, and artistic heritage with a variety of performances, seminars, lectures, and culinary exhibitions, not to mention the much anticipated street parties and art exhibitions. So again, the person who made that foolish and asinine and uninformed statement, where is your proof? Where is your proof? Where is your proof? Don't come on this show if you don't have the facts. Okay? Because when you're talking about when we are speaking about these events, rest assured, I research. I'm going back. That was 2017. Let me give you a bit about 2019. St. Lucia Roots and Soul Festival 2019, held at the famed Pigeon Island landmark. Tell me again, which Hotel Soleil was held at? Roots and Soul is part of the Soleil St. Lucia Summer Festival. This is a series of 5 events launched to celebrate the island's rich cultural, ethnic, and artistic heritage. Roots and Soul Festival is dedicated to musicians who are setting new trends in reggae, conscious hip-hop, Afro-punk, and R&B. This event will bring together musicians, record labels, online music stores and platforms, specialized journalists, and other actors in order to enhance market access for St. Lucian and other musicians and producers. If you don't know about Soleil, look it up. And in 2019, the lineup, the Roots and Soul Festival was headlined by UB40. It was a 3-day event. It took place from August 23rd to 25th. It featured Estelle, Genuine, Maya, Taurus Riley, Zamani, Lee John, Timaya, and a selection of local favorites. So you had Showing Dupes Bryce, Skip Monday, Kamaya, and Naomi. The festival includes events in several parts of the country. This includes a mix of free and paying concerts and educational activities targeted towards St. Lucian and visiting musicians. It all culminates on August 25th, 2019, with a major concert at the St. Lucia National Landmark. So again, what hotel did Soleil take place at? And which part of the festival was held at the hotel? If you are uninformed, please sit it out. But don't come here and talk foolishness. Another person is responding, saying to the person who said that, your statement is non-factual because the Soleil budget was 2/3 less than that of jazz. Another person says, Angie, let's be real. Jazz festival has become a music festival, soca, reggae, and that's all. That's true. Another says, they have been saying that for a long time, those hacks. Another is saying, this is the operative propaganda of the St. Lucia Labour Party. That's what they were telling the people during the election campaign. They were using that, so that went into people's heads. This is why the people vote for them. They used that propaganda, saying that the former government was sending everything to hotels, nothing in the favor, so the people were listening to them. That's how they operate. Lies, lies, lies to win elections. I told you all. Somebody says SLPs are great conduits of hand-me-down lies. Facts and truth mean nothing to SLPs. After being confronted with truthful facts, SLPs still continue repeating lies. Some laborers told people that if Allen comes back to office, he will stop the jazz festival and the carnival. Now I'm still looking for one, just one, of the Soleil festivals that was held at a hotel. And I have yet to find one. And I'm checking the years, I'm going through it. Every single festival that was held during Soleil was held out in the open. Not one talks about a hotel. Here's another one. What year is this? This says 7 years ago. This is an actual ad for Soleil, for the Roots and Soul Festival. And that one ran from August 31st to September 2nd, but it doesn't say what year. But it does say 7 years ago, so. And not one event is held or was held at a hotel. Here's another one. This one says, oh, this is 2017. 2017. So we've gone through this already. And it's a whole bunch of foolishness, uninformed foolishness, that these people are spewing and talking all kinds of nonsense. Here's 2018. Because I'm checking to see which festival was held at a hotel. But there is nothing here about even one hotel where one event was held. None. So why this continued foolishness? This is the question that I want to ask. The Roots and Soul Festival in 2019. I finally found one. So on August 31st, 2018, Royalton hosted Semi Francis and Diva Mahal. But everything else, Pigeon Island Landmark. All of the bigger things, Pigeon Island Landmark. So they had Chris, Taj Weeks, Yemi Alade, Beanie Man on September 1st, that's 2018. September 2nd, you had Ja Rule and Ashanti, Stacey Charles, Shane Ross, Morning Sun and the Essentials, Romaine Virgo, all at Pigeon Island National Landmark. So again, and they speak as if the entire festival was at the hotels and St. Lucian's didn't make any money. Let's check out 2019. I'm checking it out because I want to put this foolishness to rest once and for all. I don't want to hear another person spew this nonsense ever again. In 2019, there was even a new event added, Mercury Fest. And I know that takes place, or used to take place, at Pigeon Island, at Pigeon Point Beach, but I don't know if it's back. I haven't heard about that in a while. And there was St. Lucia Arts and Heritage taking place around June Creole. None of these events, most of them at the Pigeon Island National Landmark. So please, if you don't know the truth, if you don't know anything about a subject, please, please be quiet. Don't come here and spew your foolishness. So somebody says here, I am so happy that I chose not to support the SLP. Having been approached several times by key people within the SLP, history is on my side. I am happy that in light of the SLP past and recent record of lies and deceit, I made the right choice to support the UWP. Somebody says, come on, you hack, respond. But they cannot respond. How can you respond when you've spoken such foolishness and you're debunked right away? I was almost tempted to play the ads because all of the ads from 2016 all the way down to 2017, all the way down to 2019, they're right there online. So if you don't know what the festival is, just Google it. But don't come here and talk nonsense. Just Google it. Somebody says, jazz is supposed to be restful music, family friendly. And as St. Lucia stands, it should be a mental reset for the country. Should. I think that's why I like it too. I go out there, I have fun, I mingle with my friends. Somebody says, Angie, you can correct them till the world ends. They will still see it. Another says, Angie, nothing you say or do will stop SLPs from repeating the same lie. Another one says, Alan came to office when things were bad. You think that he would have been able to spend monies on jazz festival? Like what's going on now? And that's true as well. But we still had these festivals, which coincided with so many cultural events and lasted a longer time. So we still had the jazz festival, you know, during May, culminating on Mother's Day. We still had the rhythm and blues, you know. We had a festival, Caribbean. I don't want to make the same mistake. I don't want to make the same mistake and repeat the foolishness that these people are saying. Let me go back to the last one I saw. That gave me a full lineup. Right. 2019. So we had the jazz festival that was in May. Then Carnival was the next festival. Then you had Mercury Fest in August from 9th to 10th. 9th and 10th you had St. Lucia Roots and Soul, August 23rd to 25th. St. Lucia Food and Rum Festival, September 19th to 22nd. St. Lucia Arts and Heritage, October 18th to the 20th. And then Junior Creole, October 17th. So you had so many different things, many of which stretched throughout the summer. May, August, October, September. Somebody says jazz is weak. Jazz has loss of identity. Jazz promo team is weak. Been having the same stage setup and sound system for donkey years. And it's obvious the budget for jazz is extremely tight. Tight, you say? The budget is tight? I don't think the budget is tight. I wouldn't say that the budget was tight. I would say that the budget is probably not being used efficiently. But I don't think the budget is tight. Do you see the amount of artists that these people jam pack into that festival? On any given night, there are so many artists gracing the stage. Somebody says, Angie, if I'm a thief and you support me, what am I? Oh, I guess still a thief. Another one says, keep on telling them the truth. There are so many artists packed into the jazz lineup per night. And all of these people have to get paid. So maybe production is not where the big bucks are spent. Maybe the big bucks are spent on artists. Because, you see, these are individuals who obviously don't know how to maximize their budget. Obviously, these individuals, they have no idea what they're doing. Because they're bringing artists from all. I've been at jazz and seen artists get kicked off the stage, to accommodate other artists. That's bad planning. That's poor planning. And I remember when Beanie Man came on last year, he refused to leave. He was told several times, they need you to stop so that the next artist can come. And he refused to leave until his set was finished. Ricky T got kicked off stage not once but twice. Once at Pigeon Island and once at Marsha, on the Marsha grounds. So maybe they are not spending their money efficiently. Because you can spend money vai, and then you can spend money efficiently. So, I don't think the budget for jazz is tight at all. Is it being managed properly? That is the question we need to ask. So, guys, we're going to take a short commercial break and we're going to be right back with more on Hard Talk.
You already know the power of Licks products on your clothes and household. You licked your whites and colored clothes, leaving them fresh and scented. You licked your dishes and left your hands protected with vitamin E. You licked your floors, even licked your toilet. Now we expand and bring you 3 new scents in our fabric softener: Balmy Sunshine, Summer Sunshine, and Thousand Flowers. And lick those stains off of colored clothes with Lips Cutter Safe Bleach. Lips went even further with Body Care body soap bars in deodorant and antibacterial. So let tiredness and bacteria out and refresh your tired body. Your products giving you licks? Then choose Licks from Today Distribution Inc. Available at all leading supermarkets.
All right, we're back here on Hard Talk. Let's go to the Facebook platform. It says, I will let you know again, this is a big movement thing just for the Minister of Tourism to go and open his mouth and say for the first time, because everything for them is for the first time. Big movements. Another says, who do you believe indirectly owns most of the vending booths? I don't know. I don't want to find out. Now, of course, we were talking about jazz, and it would be remiss of me to have this entire conversation about the economic ramifications of the festival without giving you a bit more information on what to expect this festival. So there was a gala event last evening, and the lineup for the festival was announced. So the event will be held from April 30th to May 10th, which is the normal time, and it will once again feature a mix of Caribbean rhythms, gospel, Afro beats, pop, and R&B over several days and venues across the island. So, of course, the Minister of Tourism calls it the most iconic and cherished cultural celebration. I don't know how you can call the Jazz and Arts Festival a cultural celebration when there isn't much of St. Lucia's culture on display. Afrobeats is from Africa. A lot of the headliners are from the States. You have people from the French Antilles who join us. So I don't understand. Oh, we missed a call. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hi, Angie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good and good. And you?
I'm great. What's going on with you
Okay.
today?
But that that topic you have there on jazz, that has been the whipping boy of the SLP for a long time.
Yes, it has.
That jazz, classmates of jazz, and so on and so on and so on. I recall they were one criticizing jazz before this tenure of in office, but when they tested office, they started saying how they'll bring back jazz because Shasney stopped jazz. And you're right. All the festivals you mentioned there went way into October, not just May, not just ended in May. It went way past into June Creole. And that was an extension to the whole program. Earlier today, I met a friend of mine, a colleague of mine from Choice. I'll say he's from Choice for a particular reason. And I tell him, that's why you're really Lapoi, meaning the media, people at the press conference. And he asked me how. I tell him, when you ask a question to the Prime Minister, you're not following up. It doesn't matter what the Prime Minister answers. Everybody laughs. Nobody has a follow-up question. I said in the last press conference, the Prime Minister was asked something about visa. I think it was about visas and implications and so on.
It was.
And he made a comparison. He spoke about dung pipe and rain falling in a drum, and the drum, there's no water collecting. The dung pipe is not collecting. I tell him, when you sat there and there was
no rebuttal, no question.
The guy, you know what the guy answered me?
What did he say?
You know what the guy told me? Boldface? The guy told me, if I want him to push my agenda for me.
Wow.
So next time he will invite me to the press conference and I will ask the questions I need to ask. I tell him, really? I tell him, well, you should not attend the press conferences because Choice makes absolutely no sense, the questions you'll ask. Because I heard him trying to frame a question, up to now he cannot finish.
Why do I get the feeling that I know who that individual
You know exactly who. You know exactly who I'm talking about. But more so, Angie, ask him again. You were at the press conference when, meaning him, I tell him he was at the press conference when Philip Pierce said that if somebody could tell him where BMAC's site is and take him there, he would be happy. The guy tell me, but the man say he doesn't know. How can I say he knows? Can you believe that? Can you believe that a reporter is saying that?
I have a feeling. I have a feeling I know who you are speaking about, but it would you would do well to ask that person what their designation is, because I don't think that person is a reporter. Because a
reporter, you know, the person.
A reporter would not make a statement like that. A reporter will not make a statement like that. There are certain individuals in St. Lucia who are camera people, and who they would be fed certain questions to ask, because they're capable of asking questions and being kind of a two-in-one. So and it's not just Choice that employs people like that. So it would be beneficial to you to find out whether or not that person actually is a reporter or is just a camera person who has been tasked with asking certain questions. But I suspect I know who you're talking about. I suspect you're talking about a good friend. Yeah, I know. You're talking about a good friend.
Because that person have asked me, while I was in the service, that person have asked me interviews on
Yeah.
And I always told him in particular, I refuse to speak to Choice because Choice don't carry news. That's what I tell him. And he always, but we are friends. And he always want to challenge me what I say. I tell him, but exactly, today I told him that's exactly why I have always been telling you, you're not a news channel. You're not news people. You carry your own views, and that's not news. So, you know the person well. You know the person well.
I think I know. I think you're talking about my good friend. But don't be too hard. Don't be too hard on this individual. This individual is he's not a reporter. He is a camera person, but he is proficient enough and he can, he's eloquent enough to ask questions properly. And whoever is sending him to the press conference, I realize that person knows their stuff because this person, the way they phrase their questions is always very good. I always listen to the questions when I I listen to the press conference. I always want to hear the question because I want to know how far away from the topic the prime minister deviates. And I find that whoever is feeding him the questions, they know what they know their stuff. So don't be too hard on him. That's not what he's there for. But he does have his own opinions, so I guess. Leave my friend alone. Leave my friend alone.
Let me tell you something. But you're right about your discussion on the jazz. I think, but my main point in closing is that who do you expect to come to make those corrections when Mr. Hilaire makes all of those ridiculous statements about jazz before and so on? Because there are public officers, there are members of the Ministry of Tourism who have been there throughout that time. They're in a position where they fire, refute all the bogus statements, but they will not do it. And those are people, I always talk about public officers. Those are people holding public office. The PSs and them.
Foster, listen, I honestly, the culture of victimization that we are seeing with this SLP government, do you really expect anyone in the public service to say anything while they are members of the service? Privately, they will air their views.
I don't see why
they will do that publicly. They will say it privately, but they will never say anything publicly because the culture of victimization is it's there. Listen, you might not see it, but these people see it. And the victimization in the public service is real. It is there. It is alive and well, and it is thriving.
I know it's there, Angie, but I refuse to let it intimidate me because I tell you, I don't see why, if you're a permanent secretary, you are expected to just cover all them things and lie and put your head in the sand. I can't permit, so you know. So those permanent secretaries, in my mind, a lot of them should not be permanent. Because they're just wasting taxpayers' money.
Do you know who the first person was? Do you know who the first person was who made that statement? I first heard that statement from, you might not believe it, but I first heard that statement from Dr. Virginia Albert Poyot. She said, and I quote, "Some of the permanent secretaries need to be a little less permanent."
My second on that, even she, when she was an OPS?
I think so.
I think so, even.
I think she might have
been when she was permanent secretary of... She lasted too long permanent.
Well, I guess she was speaking from experience.
Yeah. But anyway, Just to bring that point across, I'm listening to you. Nice show as always.
Thank you. And we'll
All
see
right,
you here.
listen.
We'll see you here on Monday, right? Monday afternoon for full
Monday,
disclosure.
God willing.
That's right. And we have a great show for the
Oh
audience.
yes.
We're not letting the cat out of the bag. They
Oh
need to
yes.
tune in if they want to know what we're
Oh
saying.
yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Yeah, bye
Weekend.
bye.
Yes.
So, guys, that was my co host on Full Disclosure. Well, actually, I'm his co host. So, somebody's telling me Virginia was never a permanent secretary. Okay. I tell you, these people that we have on here, they are sharp. They know their stuff. Okay. Somebody says she was the head of the teachers union. So there you have it. Dr. Virginia Poyot, Virginia Albert Poyot was never a permanent secretary, but she was the head of the teachers union. Somebody is saying here on the Facebook platform, this independence, I will be flying a European Union flag because I am ashamed of being a citizen of St. Lucia, being classed as uneducated and selling votes. Wow. That is a very strong statement. Very, very strong statement. Somebody's saying Jamaican artists, but I guess they were talking about who headlined the festivals. Somebody saying good afternoon, Inspector. Another one says, look, let's outdo Shas with a music festival. Yeah, I think that was their aim. Another one says, caller, where Lisa that's where Lisa came in. R.I.P. Lisa, we're missing you so badly. Somebody says their own reporters are afraid to ask them questions. Another says, that's how the Labours are. When UWP government is in office, nothing they do and want to do is good. But when they are in office, the same thing that they were saying was bad is very, very good. Another says, the SLP government has infiltrated the Jazz Committee. Hold on, let me go back. The SLP government has infiltrated the Jazz Committee to the extent that virtually all the committee planning activities are dominated by supporters of the SLP, irrespective of their planning skills. Discrimination is practiced even in the allocation of booths. Now, you know, this is not the first time that I've heard this statement being made. Several individuals over the years have made this statement about, you know, the persons involved are always SLP supporters, regardless of their skills. And we do know of the jobs for the boys situation that we always go through with the St. Lucia Labour Party. Another one says, every sector of the island is compromised. Somebody says, the people are protecting the best and working PM. Ukwe. I don't know if he did say Labour is working. He never told us what Labour was working on. But the Prime Minister did say Labour is working. Another says, Angie, when did Madam Poyot made this statement? Was her government in office? Yes, her government was in office. It was one of the first times that I interviewed her. And at the time she said it, I didn't understand what she was saying. And she made the statement several other times. And one time she said, you know, some of these permanent secretaries have forgotten why they are there. And they need to be a bit less permanent because sometimes they have their own agenda and they are not, you know, pushing they're simply, because, you know, ministries are not run by ministers. Ministries are run by permanent secretaries. And I guess she felt that some of those permanent secretaries had their own agenda and were not conforming to what the ministers had to say. I don't know, but she did make this statement several times, in fact. Okay, so yes. So these are the facts, people, and we need to check the facts. So I'm saying it would be remiss of me not to give you a bit of the lineup. So opening night, April 30th, Mindo Phillip Park. You have Capleton of Jamaica, Assabanton of Dominica, Diani, Valiant, Amber Digby, and St. Lucia's country singers L.M. Stone and Siobhan Seeley. Then you have 2 nights of pure jazz with Esperanza Spalding headlining on May 5th and Branford Marsalis on May 7th at the Pavilion in Rodney Bay. May 6th, Kingdom Night at Pigeon Island with Ty Tribet and Ada Ehi. And you will also have 2 of St. Lucia's award-winning gospel artists, Shirley Ann Cyril Myers and Nigella St. Clair Daniel. Caribbean Fusion, of course, on Friday, May 8th at Pigeon Island. Original Wailers with Skip Marley, the grandson of Bob Marley. The event will also feature Kess the Band, Dexter Daps, and a St. Lucian Melage. I don't often come across words that I can't pronounce, but I think it was a St. Lucian Melage, I don't know. Another one. So you have the Nigerian superstar Thames and R&B singer Elamai will take the stage on Saturday, May 9th as part of World Beats. Princess Lover, Les Alon, as well as St. Lucia's Lucity and October 4 will be performing. Ultimate celebration on Sunday, May 10th, Mother's Day. You have Billy Ocean, Beverly Knight, Mervyn Wilkinson and friends, and a yet-to-be-named main act. So let me go over that again. We have Ultimate Celebration, September, May 10th, Mother's Day. You have Billy Ocean, Beverly Knight, Mervyn Wilkinson and friends. And another act that is going to be named at a later date. Before that, on May 9th, World Beats, you have Thames, LMI, or LMA, whatever she's called, Princess Lover, Les Alon, I think, or Aiglon. Saga, but remember, have Lou City and October 4. Caribbean Fusion, May 8th. Original Wailers with Skip Marley, the grandson of Bob Marley. Kess the Band, Dexter Daps, and a St. Lucia Melage, I think. I'm not biting my tongue over whatever this is. Kingdom Night, Ty Tribet, Ada Ehi, Shirley Ann Cyril Myers, Nigella St. Clair Daniel. Pure Jazz, May 5th, Esperanza Spalding. May 7th, Brandon Marsalis. Branford Marsalis. This man has been here for jazz so many times. You notice that they keep, there are so many names that are reoccurring. Branford Marsalis is one of those. Kess the Band is one of those. But of course, opening night, April 30th, Mindo Phillip Park, Capleton, Assabanton, Diani, Valiant, Amber Digby, L.M. Stone, and Siobhan Seeley. So that is the lineup for the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival 2026. Someone says you saw that in the last Calypso competition, only SLP supporters won. Oh my goodness, you guys are not easy here on Hardtalk. You guys don't put water in your mouth to say what you gotta say. Yes, so I mean, some of the names on there seem to be. So somebody is sending me photos of St. Martin and of the huge cruise ships that are docked in wherever this harbor is. Oh, wow! Three of the P&O cruise ships, well, two that I can see clearly. Let me see what the other. Wow, wow, wow. Guys, you should see this. Now that's a port. Anyway, I'm jealous because when I was on my way to Castries today, I saw three tiny ships in our harbor. Somebody says, Angie, I know you're telling us about jazz in SLU, but St. Martin is booming with four massive cruise ships today, as you are their crew. Oh, cruise port image if they had jazz. I don't want to wow, no guys, these are massive ships. Honestly, these ships are so huge. Somebody says, but that's true, Angie. Once you are not a hack, you'll stick in that. Well, I guess I'll stick in that then, because I refuse to be a hack. I need to have the truth. The truth is the truth. So, yes. Pretty nice lineup. I mean, Capleton, that's a show I would want to see. Dexter Jabs. Dexter Daps is one of my favorites. Billy Ocean. You know, of course, there are shows for everyone. I remember when I took my daughter, she was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over Summer Walker. It didn't appeal to me, but she was so elated, and there were so many young, so many kids there. Young adults. Sorry for calling them kids. There were lots of young adults at that show, and let me tell you, the girls were singing along, the boys were singing along. It's a good time. It's a great time for everyone. I'm not debating the fact that the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival bring great performances and or it brings something for everyone. That's not what I am debating. What I want to know about the Jazz and Arts Festival, simply, what is the cost to the country? What is the benefit? I simply want to sit down and run a cost benefit analysis to find out if this is a good, sustainable, and viable investment. Because let's face it, that is what it is. We're not just bringing these people here because we love music. We do love music. We do love a good time. This is St. Lucia. This is St. Lucia. We do love a good time. But at what cost? And this is reminding me so much of every single thing that the tourism minister has his hand in. Somebody saying this SLP is so political, they never give our own St. Lucia and More Sherry a chance to perform in the jazz festival. And I second that in motion. More Sherry may not be the only artist to ever come from St. Lucia. But she is one of those who represented us on the international stage. Come on, the girl has a voice on her. Say what you want about this girl. She can sing. You know what I'm saying? She has a set of pipes, you know, and she deserves a shot at the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. She deserves it. Another one is saying, Angie, it's a good time for everyone who can afford. You're forgetting to add that part. I cannot, in good conscience, add that part because I've never bought a jazz ticket in my life. So that would be quite hypocritical of me. But hey, if you can afford, hey, I've been to jazz without $1 in my pocket. I can tell you that. But you know what, your tax dollars are working, and when I go to jazz with accreditation, I'm simply helping you enjoy the benefits of your tax dollars. I hope they give me accreditation this year, and I don't, you know, let me be quiet before before I don't get the call. But honestly, guys, it is a great time. It is a great time. And I would advise any St. Lucian, if you can afford it, to at least once, come and see for yourself. I'm not disputing the fact that the Jazz and Arts Festival is a great time. I'm not doing that. Cost benefit analysis. And it's getting really redundant, Mr. Tourism Minister. It really is getting redundant, your attitude towards taxpayers in this country when it comes to how you handle their funds. We never know how much money is spent or accrued during Carnival. Ever since you took the helm, we've been told you cannot quantify. Everything can be quantified. Jazz, we have no idea. Tourism, the numbers never add up. And let's not talk about the CIP. Right? So, and the common denominator in across the board seems to be the Minister of Tourism and Investment himself. Everything you touch cannot be quantified. You cannot give us information on CIP. You cannot give us information on jazz. You can never give us information on Carnival. I'm not even going to venture to ask you about June Creole because, hey, you probably don't know either. But at least you're not saying I don't know. You're saying you cannot quantify it. We need better. People, I will always say, it is high time that St. Lucians demand, not ask, not expect, demand a fair day's work for a fair day's pay from our politicians. We didn't vote for you because we didn't want to know what was going on in our own country. We didn't vote for you because we wanted to give you carte blanche to do anything your heart desired behind our backs. It was you, SLP administration, since 2021, who coined the phrase accountability, transparency, integrity, and truth. Now, it seems to me that you guys were simply playing lip service to these qualities because you really don't seem to embody them all that much. But this is what we demand. Oh, by the way, I forgot something from the jazz festival. Let me just tell you because I skipped to the jazz part, but I completely overlooked the arts part. That is not fair. So there is a part of the festival, the arts in jazz and arts, that is being put together by the Cultural Development Foundation, CDF, and I think the art in the city is one of their things. I saw it a while ago, but I'm not seeing it now. All right. So there will be arts in the city where you're going to get a chance to paint and do that kind of thing. And you're going to have community events in Soufre and Mikoud. I think they're going to bring back Jazz en Viège. But the lineup for these, and then Soufre Jazz, but the lineup for these have not been announced, and they will be announced in a subsequent broadcast. I don't understand, you have an entire media launch, but you're not giving us all of these information, but I guess you want to build suspense. So somebody's saying, I think it's a Creole word that is pronounced as mêlé, mélange. No, the spelling doesn't signify that. Somebody says, I suspect they are suggesting a session of different genres. I figured that out. Somebody says, how about GPH? We are still waiting for him to get permission. No, we're not waiting for him to get permission for GPH. We're waiting for him to get permission from Caribbean Galaxy, CIP. That is what he's waiting to get permission for. GPH, he just doesn't want to tell us. The other one says, the SLP regime running St. Lucia like it's their own, even a blind man can see. Somebody else says, and yet still the hacks are angry when questions are being asked. Somebody says, I don't know what the person is referring to. But seriously, it seems that everything this minister touches, there is the same modus operandi. He cannot tell you. He cannot quantify this. And if you ask him to quantify it, then you must be an idiot. Because why would you even want to do that? Why would you even want to question what he does? That's the attitude that you get. That's the body language. That's the impression. Why would you even ask that question? Who does that? Why do you want to know? The point is, it's being done. It doesn't matter what it costs. We're not looking at cost. This isn't about making a profit. This is about marketing. You know what marketing is, right? Marketing is making something look attractive. making something look appealing so that a customer will buy in. Marketing has nothing to do with whether or not that customer needs said product. Doesn't have anything to do with whether or not that product is even good for the customer, if it suits their needs, nothing of the sort. It's simply a matter of selling. That's it. That is it. It doesn't even tell you, or it doesn't even take into account whether or not the product is worth what you are paying for it. It's kind of like a buying an outfit on Shein and buying the same outfit at a speculator store for 5 times the price. It's the same outfit. It's like generic medication and brand medication. Here's one that I know of firsthand because my daughter uses this. So it's like buying a bottle of Claritin versus buying Loratadine. Loratadine is the active ingredient in Claritin, but Claritin costs way more than Loratadine. They're the same antihistamine, they're the same product, and they do the same thing. But with marketing, you're going to pay way more for Claritin than you will pay for Loratadine, and it's the same thing. Get it? That's all about marketing. It's all marketing, guys. That's all it is. So, somebody says, but he wanted to know all when in opposition. Yes. I remember this very same minister who is yet, let me repeat, who is yet to table the missing CIP reports in the parliament. The reports that he promised would be tabled, he is yet to do so. Maybe parliament has not been convened as yet. I don't know. But I remember the same minister in opposition clamoring for those same CIP reports, speaking about how illegal it was for them not to be tabled on time. Yet the same minister isn't even bothered. It's almost as if he's doing whatever he wants, however he wants, and we cannot talk to him. He cannot quantify jazz. He cannot quantify the economic benefits of jazz or the cost-benefit ratio. He cannot quantify the economic benefit of Carnival or the cost-benefit ratio either. He cannot give us information about CIP because he doesn't name and shame companies, and that the company in question, the developer, will have to give him permission. He will have to ask them for permission to give us the information that refers to our passports. He cannot disclose information on CIP to the International Monetary Fund because the IMF is asking for people's private information, and he's not going to do that. And of course, he cannot give us any information on CIP. Sorry, GPH. And then to top it all off, the pièce de résistance, the crème de la crème, the cherry on the top of the Sunday of I would say uninformation, but that's not a word. Of no information. He cannot speak up for the workers at Isla Resorts whose contracts are being contravened because they cannot pour concrete as well as the developer. Let's not forget some of the famous moments of this minister, shall we? Somebody says the CIP reports are still under the table. Sweetheart, the CIP reports are nowhere near the table. Let's get it right. So, again, I do love me the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. I simply want to know what's in it for us. With a lot of the policies, with a lot of the moves that this government has made, I would like to know, and I'm sure many in my audience and many in the country are interested in knowing, what is in it for us? You are the government in office. When you make decisions, these decisions largely affect the populace. Like the Prime Minister was very happy to tell us on Monday, whether or not we citizens lose our ability to get immigrant visas in the US, or we lose our Schengen visa-free privileges, it pays him no never mind. Because for as long as he is the Prime Minister, he will forever and ever hold a diplomatic passport, and he will be able to travel as far and wide as his heart desires. So in other words, tutti bet klewe pulamio. So I think it's very important that we, the citizenry, that are being asked to klewe for our own lamb, we need to ask these pertinent questions. It is our duty. It is our duty. Just like, and bear with me, I'm going to pull a Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre here. I need you all to tell me how well I do after. It's just like rainwater harvesting. Wasco is the company tasked with providing every household and business and school and institution in St. Lucia with pipe-borne potable water. But we are now being asked to stop using our tanks to store Wasco's water and to put them under our gouttiere. Yes, I know I am mixing my Creole and English. I'm doing that for emphasis. Stay with me. Okay, fine, I'll use the right word. Put put them under our downpipes for our guttering and collect rainwater in order to flush our toilets. The Prime Minister's words, not mine. Again, another example. And then we should pay, after we're done collecting this rainwater, we should ensure that we pay our small Wasco bills. Why? Because tout Tibet ni pou klewe pou lamyo. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I am to pay 12.5% VAT and the 2.5% levy on every purchase, and let me tell you guys something. You notice how quickly money disappears in your hands these days? And you notice how sometimes when you come home from the supermarket or from a day in Castries and you are checking your money, how much you have left, how much you left with, you notice how sometimes you look around and wonder if somebody robbed you? But if you go back, every cent is accounted for. That has never happened to you, because it has happened to me. I have found myself, I went to town with a certain amount of money. I pick up something here, something over there. Oh, I needed that for such a long time. I was looking for that. Now that I get the opportunity, let me pick it up. You cannot live like this in St. Lucia anymore. When you get back home and you are checking, but I went with that amount. How am I coming back with this very small amount? And you don't think maybe some money fell from my pocket, Lord? You don't think maybe somebody robbed me? Maybe I went somewhere and they didn't give me my change. These are the things that are running through your mind. But no, it is simply that the cost of living in this country is exorbitant. And if I am to pay taxes on everything, and I mean everything, mani pièce klewe pou lamwe. The job is yours. You wanted it. You were the most readied. Give it your all and do it right. And I don't care if people don't agree with me. The truth is the truth, and that's no offense. Somebody says, Angie, that's because the price of groceries have gone up. The price of groceries are forever up. Forever up. If I have to be paying through the nose for everything, then you give me the service that I am paying for. Now, somebody might say, how does that relate to jazz? It relates to the minister getting paid with my tax dollars, but not being accountable to me and others like me who pay his salary for how he spends our hard-earned money. I love jazz. If I get the opportunity, I will be there for every show. I love the spectacle. I love the music. But I also feel good when I know that this is bringing some huge benefit to the country. I love the feeling when I know this increases economic activity to our local businesses, to our small vendors. Because last year, I noticed something somebody is saying all the monies that will. Oh, we have a call on the line. Let me get that call and I'll get back to that message. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hi, good afternoon to you, Sanji.
Good afternoon to you. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. I have probably mentioned this particular minister in the past. And oh, by the way, before I go ahead, I want to ask you, have you checked your account to make sure your money got there?
Oh, it's there. It's there.
Okay, that's good.
it's just let me tell you. It's there, and I'm not touching it because it's the 23rd of January, and you know what comes on the 14th of January.
After that, we still have more bills to go.
So I am just patiently waiting. Like I told somebody this morning, as you see the bills reach already and the salary don't reach yet, don't mess with me.
Well, at least you finally got it after so long.
Yes.
I mean, it's not fair.
Yeah. Well.
They didn't mess around to get this, but they're delaying others. It's not fair.
Yeah. It got there 2 days after they said it was there.
Sorry?
It got there 2 days after they said it was there.
I guess it was working.
They saved the best for last. That's fine. I don't have a problem.
Okay. Well, that's good. That is so far. But the delay is not good.
Yeah.
But this particular minister, honestly, you know the song says everything he touched turns to hurt. That's the kind of minister this guy is. Everything he touches, he messes it up. Everywhere this guy has been is a scandal. And he's another reason why this government should be dissolved, pretty much. Because his boss is not saying anything. He keeps messing everything up. Even the last, up now, I don't think he's given the numbers from the last jobs. He came up with boast of how good it was. He's trying to this don't say because I'm
Well, let me tell you, he has not given numbers for any jazz.
Exactly. Now that indicates nothing. The expenditure is more than the profits. So, given their agenda, they want to do everything to make the leader of the opposition look bad. So they don't care. So they have to cut their nose to spite their face. And we are the ones paying on fronting the bill, as you said. He's talking about the CIP reports. I'm waiting to hear that happen. At the very least. The details, it should be in full detail. The longer he waits, the more detailed it should be.
You honestly think this is going to happen? You're honestly okay. Just checking.
No, yeah, my points are still there. But this same minister had him saying, when they were in opposition, he actually wrote a letter to the leader of the opposition about a balanced situation. Now he is the minister. Look at what he's doing. I mean, this guy is nothing good for solution.
Well,
you know, everything. Being honestly, I have nothing against him personally, but I can't stand to hear a guy talk. Every time a guy talk is always a mistruth or misinformation, as they like to say. It even reminds me of, you remember in school there was that story, teacher, the job meeting and the tabi.
Yes.
That's what this guy reminds me of, honestly.
I'm just going through a group and I'm just going through a group and people are commenting on the jazz lineup and they're asking, are they broke this year? This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so far on the lineup, I don't even know why Billy Ocean is not the headliner. How could they put, in my opinion, Billy Ocean on the stage and still have a main event on top of it?
I don't know.
You know? okay, these guys, I don't know. But everything they're doing is to try to make a point. They do not care how much it costs the citizens of the country. And that is another reason why they refuse to be transparent, take accountability as they like to, the tools they like to use. Which proves how much of hypocrites that they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to follow this because I don't. I have a one of my principles are the more you talk about something is the more value you give to it.
Yeah.
I don't think this particular individual is worth so much.
Wow. Well, he believes he is.
Yeah, he believes he's the star of the show.
Yeah.
You know, coming with his long, silky hair. Being in the room.
I agree with you. Don't say anything more. Don't say anything. Let's just leave it there. Don't say anything more.
Yeah, I think we should just leave it as that. But, I mean, I'm sorry you have to be in that place, but at the same time I understand. You know,
Yeah.
because we have to know and pay attention to what's going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
And about yesterday, I didn't listen live, but I listened to the program afterwards, and to me, he was really articulate. He's right.
Yeah.
Even some of these things, what's his name? The one they call,
You mean Dominic Fede?
yes, Dominic Fede said he said this exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The leader of the opposition pointed to me the exact same thing. And now Tony is giving a full report on it from actual numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I hope people start to see or understand where we are with this thing.
Well, I was saying earlier that I was coming to Castries today and I realized we had 3 ships in the harbor, but these ships were so small. And
You suffer boats there.
well, yes, sorry, I stand corrected. 3 boats and 1 canoe, and 2 boats and 1 canoe. That's how small one of them was. Yeah.
Just as I think fishing boats when you start seeing them.
Sometimes you don't even see fishing boats in the harbor. I remember a time when the harbor the water was so smooth. I didn't even think not even the wind was in the harbor that day. Yes, but I digress. So, I mean, not one of these vessels, can I call them vessels? Not one of these vessels had a capacity of over 1,000 people. And it's just...
I think it's sad. I mean, I think it was Rick I heard he said, when Sojourner was alive, he said to me, every time I look out there, and I know there's not a vessel docked there, or a ship at the time, it bothers me. And at that time, agriculture was our main source of income.
Right.
And Sojourner said that. Now, since the Canadian, we shift that narrative to tourism. And tourism is pretty much going.
The particular slogan was Fig Jamais c'est tourism. And I know farmers who are out there pushing that narrative.
Yep. Yeah, but even when I heard it, he said, come to Pavlov, come to Pavlov, tout le c'est marrant, il y a tout le monde You know, he said, that was his street. He was a farmer when he was still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, imagine in the time of agriculture, the leader of the country was saying, he's bothered when there's not a ship docked in the bay. And now, those who highlight tourism so much don't care to have the maximum capacity. Well, pretty much, if he has one, it's like, we have. Rather than say no. We lost that compared to where we were.
These people spent 5 years and did nothing to boost sustainable regional airlift, you know. They introduced extra flights, regional flights, only for jazz and carnival. In fact, there was one carnival when people who had come into St. Lucia to to celebrate Carnival, they could not find their way home. They couldn't get flights to go home. I don't know if you remember that. I'm not sure. But they did nothing. They did nothing to create sustainable regional airlift. Nothing. They just kept saying, oh, we miss airlift. Oh, we don't have airlift. Oh, we don't have airlift. As if that was a justification.
Yeah. Another case of where to go.
To Tibet, Cleopulamio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to see them from the true colors.
We know what color they are. They are all red. Red means stop. In case you're not a driver, red means stop.
Like I said, yeah, if you're not a driver, I think everybody knows red means danger. If you're walking by somebody and you see red on the skin, you obviously know something is wrong.
Something is always wrong. Thank you for that.
Anyway, Angie, I won't take too much of your time. I'll stop you for now.
Thank you for that.
I'll keep listening. Look for as always.
Yeah, take care. Thanks. All right, so we have some comments. Let's go through them. Somebody's saying that's why the election was rigged, because the CIP minister would get caught in his scandal. I don't know. Somebody says, I wish St. Lucians were part of the decision making. I don't think, well, we can be part of the decision making, but we don't want to be. Somebody says, all the monies that were exuberantly spent on election campaigns should have been saved to bail out Wasco. This is sensible thinking, don't you think? Well, it's sensible to me. Doesn't mean it's sensible to them. I don't know. But the Prime Minister did say that the government subsidizes Wasco. So maybe we should ask the CEO of Wasco, where the money gone? Because I don't understand. The only water company on an island is always in need of funds. But that's for another show. I think we might have to have an entire show on Wasco, I think that's what we will have to do. But let me get some more information. So somebody says the Carnival and Jazz are there to prove that I can organize these events bigger than you by any means. I totally agree with that statement. Somebody else is saying, to me, we are getting ships that have lost their way. That one burned me. We are getting ships that have lost their way, LOL. That one hurts. Another says, ever heard of a transparent liar? There goes an honest thief. Oh, okay. Guys, it really baffles me. I am baffled. To borrow a phrase from the Prime Minister, because he's always baffled. It really baffles me how people can be taken in by these individuals. I don't understand. It's like they say something and people just accept whatever is said. They don't double check. They don't Google. I mean, they don't ask questions. They just accept whatever is said by whoever. And to me, that is simply foolish. There's nothing anyone can say to me that I will not go and double check. There's nothing anyone would say to me that I would not ask a question about or attempt to verify. And maybe that is the reporter in me or the journalist in me. But I've always been this kind of, I always want to know if what I am being told is the truth. Because I always believe that a liar is a thief and a murderer. Forgive me, but that is my personal opinion. And to me, when I look at the St. Lucia Labour Party, when I look at their policies, when I look at what they've done in the country, I simply see a whole bunch of cosmetic changes, things that look good but are not actually good. And sometimes I wonder, am I the only one who sees this? Am I the only one who notices this? Am I the only one who has figured this out? I guess I am. And another thing that baffles me is the people who are coming out in support of some of the things that are going on in this country. People who you expect to know better. People who you expect to understand better. People who you really expect are not so gullible. It's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching, really. Because when I go on social media or I listen to certain individuals, and like Foster was describing my good friend's reaction when he asked him the question, I think I've shaken my head. I'm afraid to shake my head because I'm afraid it will fall off. But to each his own. And I really cannot tell people how to think. Somebody says, Angie, let's open a company called Rainwater Harvesting so we can supply the people and take Wasco out of business. Please don't laugh. You know I'm going to laugh. So why tell me not to laugh? But that's a good one. Somebody says, no, Angie, you're not the only one who is seeing these things. The SLP is all about the optics. That is so true. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. You know, we had a wonderful show today, didn't we? And we got to really debunk a lot of foolishness that's been going around when it comes to jazz and Soleil. And I hope nobody else makes such a ridiculous statement without the right information. Another person is saying these guys don't have what it takes, don't know the right people to run the country. It's Friday and I'm not going to keep you guys too long because I know some of you have to go on your after work lime. Have a good day, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Somebody says, to me, the ones we expect to know better, they are morally bankrupt and all about themselves, not realizing that it will catch up with everyone in St. Lucia. And I agree with that statement as well. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Hardtalk, where we discuss the issues that matter with factual information. We double check. We ensure that when we make a statement, we don't say things that are untrue and come from a place of misinformation. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day. Love you. Mwah. See you guys back here Monday, same time, same place, for more of the issues that matter. Bye-bye.
It's a musical shock.